after long last, we finally got the Snyder cut. I mean, I can't believe it. I can't, really, like when we first talked about it after we saw Justice League, what, like 4 years ago now?
And the 2017 it came out.
Jeez. Uh, we, there's already the hashtags release the Snyder cut, and obviously Zack Snyder stepped away from the project after his daughter, um, you know, commit suicide, and I mean, rightfully so. Anyone would do that, and Joss Whedon came in and kind of made a movie that was, I think, a little bit lighter in tone, that was a little bit more just like down the middle. And everything we heard from the actors involved and people involved is this is not what they had signed on for. That that people were bagging on some of the CGI. You had Henry Cavill who had the CGI mustache taken out.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Mission Impossible, baby.
yeah, which
Worth it. Worth keeping the mustache. That movie rules.
totally worth it. But you know, people were saying, this doesn't do Zack Snyder justice. So he got his justice, and HBO gave him the money, and he came back and he made the project he wanted to make. Dave, is the Snyder Cut better than the original Justice League?
Yeah, I'd say it's better.
How
Does that
much
make
better?
it good? No, it doesn't. But I'd definitely say it's better. And I think, when we watched Justice League, and I think it was November 2017, we knew some of the behind the scenes stuff, but we didn't know everything. We didn't know that Whedon only used apparently like around 10% of what Zach had shot.
Mhm.
80 new pages. And the way Ray Fisher puts it, almost everything he was in, he had to redo. So, like, there were substantial changes, and hence why that movie cost $300 million and lost Warner Brothers around $60 million because it just cost way too much money, you know? And that was why I thought the Snyder Cut was just so far out of the realm of possibility because uh, it was already a sunk cost, Justice League, to just give it up, right? But
Mhm.
they ended up giving Zach 70 million more dollars to do some reshoots. Remember when we talked about the Snyder Cut existing when there was that big, official announcement about it? The official announcement didn't tell us that he was reshooting anything.
Yeah,
It was just like new ADR, like new lines and stuff, and just using what his cut footage was. We didn't know he was getting 70 fucking million more bills to work with, right?
crazy.
So it's just kind of funny how the information has come out from back when it all started, right?
Mhm.
But obviously, huge campaign to restore Zack Snyder's vision,
Original vision.
his creative vision, and we did get that, and Zach definitely played into that along the way, sharing storyboards and sharing
Mhm.
screen caps and stuff. And I think the clamoring for the Snyder cut, you can go multiple ways with it because obviously they did a lot of good. Like a lot of those fans raised a lot of money for suicide prevention and stuff like that. And obviously, quite commendable. But
Yep.
there's also some nastiness to it and a lot of negativity fired at people that work at Warner Brothers who weren't like openly supporting restoring any aspect
Right.
of what Snyder had done. So it's a complicated story, and I think there's a lot you can read about this. Some direct stories made, interviews with Zach. Vanity Fair did a great job. They actually went to the
Mhm.
set when he was reshooting, and also there's a profile in the New York Times. So there's a lot of information you can officially
Lot of
on the record read about this stuff. I'd advise people to check that out. It's good to kind of get the official word after all the rumor mongering that's gone on since 2017. And of course, Ray Fisher's stuff still feels kind of ongoing, given his allegations against Joss Whedon and also the
Yep.
WB brass. But anyway, what we got, right? 70 million more dollars in the can. And you got 4 hours and 2 minutes. Zack Snyder's Justice League. And not only that, but it's presented in a pseudo 4:3 aspect ratio, which would be preferable for IMAX, apparently. Maybe we get an IMAX release of this in the future. Thought that was a
Maybe.
little funny.
Yep.
Didn't end up bothering me watching
No.
it. But yeah, man, it's 4 fucking hours. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean the original Justice League was what, like 2.5, I think.
No, it was two. That's the
Only
thing.
two.
Like
Yeah, they cut
it,
it down to make it
it was
more.
lopped the fuck off.
Yeah, and I mean, what do we really get from the new stuff? We get a lot more cyborg backstory.
hmm
I think we get more Barry Allen
Yeah, he
backstory,
doesn't have backstory originally. That's all cut out in the theatrical.
and then we get some more CGI fight scenes. Which look awesome. I think the slow down action got to be a little much for me. Like I wanted to just like I just want some of these scenes to like get going. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, like
we could have saved 10 minutes if we didn't do some slow motion stuff.
yeah, it was some of it got to be a little redundant to me. But I mean, in all, I found myself feeling like this vision made more sense, and it also made more sense in terms of like giving Snyder this role of making the Avengers like movie of DC.
Hmm.
For whatever way we have to compare the two,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Um, and he definitely set more stuff up, and it feels like okay, like I get where they wanted to take things with this. They mentioned the multiverse in this, so then you're
Hmm.
kind of thinking of all these timelines and stuff. Like it made a lot more sense for what DC wanted to do. I just don't know if it made the movie good.
Well, and I think there's a lot of problems again. And Zack Snyder, he is not the most subtle or nuanced
Oh
filmmaker.
no.
No one would say anything to the contrary, right? But there's also some blame to lay at Warner Brothers because they forced him to make one Justice League movie when initially they wanted to do two. And Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League is 4 hours because he's trying to adequately serve everything he was trying to accomplish in just one film. Again, you're introducing Aquaman, The Flash, and Cyborg for the first time while also being a team up movie like in Avengers. That
Mhm.
is way too much to accomplish in one film. Hence why the 2 hour theatrical of Justice League is nonsense.
Yeah.
And this is just way too long. So it's clearly bad form. It is
Mhm.
not good filmmaking to do it this way. It doesn't make sense, but you understand why it's this long because of the list of things that had to be checked off, again given the initial restraint put on the plan, right?
Sure.
I will say too, going into Zack Snyder's Justice League, I rewatched Man of Steel and Batman for Superman Ultimate Edition. I watched 9+ hours of Zack Snyder last week, so I'm fresh.
Come at me, bro. I'm fresh.
And I gotta say, it's downward spiral. Like each one is worse than the last.
Hmm.
And Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition, a little extra connective tissue with those extra scenes. The hardcore fans were right. It does make it pretty solid. I think that movie's all right. It's all right.
Mhm.
Man of Steel, I genuinely like.
Yeah, man, feels
Wasn't for
good.
the last 45 minutes where it's nonstop fighting. I thought it could have been great. And it's one of those movies that you're almost mad it wasn't great, you
Mhm.
know. But I like Man of Steel. And
Yeah.
this, it's like, and now, like, hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Like, now all the fans want to see where Zack Snyder Justice League leaves off. He is an ambiguous cliffhanger. Martian Manhunter showed up. Obviously, Darkseid is actually present in this version of the film, in
Darkseid's
addition to
dead now, though.
Steppenwolf. And people want to see,
Oh no,
the fight
Darkseid's dead.
against
Sorry,
Darkseid. I understand that.
that's right.
And like I think that's been the whole thing. It's like Zack Snyder's vision, Zack Snyder's vision. And the critics are like, yeah, well, do we care about Zack Snyder's vision? Is it that good? Again, pointing to what we had seen. And like I see the plan, I see what the vision was. And yeah, there's flaws all over the place, but at the same time, like you can't help but feel like it's just a colossal bag fumble by WB because you were fucking committed at this point,
Yeah.
man. To just cut off the legs like this self-inflicted wound, but at the same time, now where DC is at now, I don't think they can go back and finish this off in any way. Like I think they just need to move on.
Right, and that's the hard thing is where it leaves off with you know uh, big table, six chairs with room for more, and it's such a. I mean, I think what the Snyder Cut does. I mean, it's 4 hours, so you have plenty of time to give every character their shine, and I do think it does a pretty good job of like giving the ball to each character to
Especially Cyborg.
yeah, Cyborg's, I mean, backstory really gets fleshed out in this. I mean, Barry Allen still, there's a lot to go there, but we'll maybe eventually get a Flash movie.
It goes into production next month, apparently. So
Sure.
it's happening. And
I'm
the
with
next
it.
year comes out.
But it's also like I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is such a Batman centric thing. Like they're setting him up to be the like I don't know head of the Justice League in a sense. And if, in the comics, which I remember from my youth, Batman was always just kind of like the badass of the Justice League. Like
Yeah,
he did his own
usually
thing.
Superman's more the leader. Yeah,
Yeah, and he was like, "Man, I'm gonna go do my own thing. F you guys, whatever." And in this, it's like, no, okay, Bruce Wayne is obviously gonna be like the old man of all this, which I'm cool with, but I'm also like, Ben Affleck don't want to do this no more.
Right.
Like,
Well,
what's the point?
that's another interesting part of this, right? Is not everything is necessarily on Warner Brothers, right? You can talk to Joe Manganiello, right? He comes back as Deathstroke, and we had that scene at the end of Justice League, and the Stinger scene that comes back in this, where he talks to Luthor on the yacht, and then in the brand new dream sequence, nightmare scene, you get Deathstroke again with a nice new mohawk.
Mhm.
But if you talk to Joe Manganiello, he's on the record with Vanity Fair about this. He initially filmed that scene for the end of Justice League because it was supposed to tie into the Batman movie Ben Affleck was going to make. He was going to
Mhm.
be the villain to Batman, Deathstroke. And Ben Affleck fell out of that movie. He dropped out in pre-production, so that just completely fell apart. And they basically repurposed that cameo Stinger scene to be teasing a future Justice League movie that they didn't make, right? So it's like there's a lot of stops and starts. Of course, the Flash movie, right? They've been making the Flash movie since before Justice League came out. It's been gone through several writers and several directors, and leading into this last week when I was really diving in, I looked up, Captain America, Chris Evans was cast as Captain America about a year earlier than Henry Cavill was cast as Superman. We've got Henry Cavill in three and a half movies, and we've got Steve Rogers Captain America in seven,
Yeah.
or yeah, seven. And DC just like, and like you look at the future, right? And like you kind of see what they're doing. They're not like necessarily like super continuity
Multiverse,
focused the way MCU is.
baby.
Multiverse coming in the Flash, but like the volume of movies is still low. Like we're getting The Suicide Squad coming out in August, and we're getting Aquaman 2 at the end of next year, right after The Flash, and you're getting Shazam 2 in the early 2023. But that's still a 4-year gap between Shazam 1 and 2 and Aquaman 1 and 2. How the fuck are you doing that? Aquaman 1 is the highest grossing DC movie ever, $1.4 billion. Why the fuck it take 4 years to make a sequel to this?
Yeah,
You know?
it's insane. And it's kind of disappointing because I wouldn't have hated to see more Justice League movies. Like, Wonder
Mm.
Woman 1984, we talked about it, didn't love it, but I still think Gal Gadot is a great Wonder Woman. I think Batman in this or I think Ben Affleck in this version of Batman's very interesting. Cavill is
He's
the
a good
best
Bruce
Superman
Wayne.
there's ever been. Yeah, so
Definitely, yeah,
all these all these characters, and I don't even hate Ezra Miller as the Flash. I think he's fine. Like,
yeah. It's pretty funny.
it's a take, but yeah, it's fine. And I'm just like, man, they really like fumbled all of this stuff, and I think now it just feels so disjointed. I wonder if maybe like they explain something away where like Bruce dies, and then Wonder Woman takes up the mantle of like running the Justice League, and start branching out to other
Well,
characters. I don't know.
and that's what's so weird about it, right? Is we know they're making a Wonder Woman 3. Patty and Gal are on signed on. They fast tracked that officially right after 1984 came out, probably due to the negative reception.
Mhm.
Either way, we know that's coming. So like she's the only constant. It feels like her and Momoa's Aquaman,
Yep.
like and Flash, but like maybe it's all leading up to Flashpoint in the Flash, right? Ben
Yeah.
Affleck is coming back as well as Keaton, right? Like
Hmm.
having Affleck actually come back again kind of surprised me. And I think now it gives a lot of like hardcore Snyder fans like something to latch onto. It's like, oh man, you can convince Affleck to come back again and do that movie. Even Zack Snyder, like I don't know if Ben wants to do that.
Hmm.
So, but what we're left with, right, is again, we mentioned it, Flash, Aquaman 2, Wonder Woman 3 eventually, Shazam 2 on the media horizon. Black Adam apparently also going into production in the next month or so. Again, another movie that's been in development and we've been cast for ages at this point. But like Blue Beetle apparently is coming, going into production in the fall, and Michael B. Jordan's producing a Static Shock movie. Again, that feels far off. And we just got announced today Emerald Fennell's writing for a Zatanna movie. But at the same time, in about a year, we're getting The Batman from Matt Reeves with Robert Pattinson, which is pointedly
Yeah.
not connected to this, just like how Joker with Joaquin Phoenix was not connected to anything else.
Mhm.
And I've generally been pretty supportive of the DC plan of just make good stuff and don't necessarily worry about connecting every little thing.
Right.
But now at this point, I feel like if they try and make a continuation of what Snyder has left us here, you're almost recommitting to that old plan,
Mhm.
So It's a little confusing, I think.
It's definitely confusing, and I think for where they're at right now, what we know is coming down the pike, we have to kind of take the first route that you talked about, where it's like things don't have to connect, just make good movies, and the rest will kind of follow suit. If they can somehow get the crew back together for a Justice League 2, I'd watch it. But if not, and this is what we get, and at least I'm glad we got to see what it was intended to be. And I think DC fans seem to feel mostly satisfied with this, and the reviews are so much better for this than the original Justice League.
Definitely,
So,
definitely.
man, I never thought I'd watch a 4-hour Justice League movie though.
And that's the thing. It's like there's still like flaws to be had, and of course, it's like weird
Hmm.
scenes and stuff. And like you kind of gotta. It's 4 hours. It's like a lot to ask you to like pay like super close attention to stuff. But there's a lot of like dream sequence scenes before the final, one that's making all the headlines. Like there's lots of like those kind of like non full reality scenes that like if you don't pick up on them, you might not understand like some of the motivations going on for what's going on, what the characters are doing, right? But some scenes that were extended longer, I liked better, like the Themyscira attack Steppenwolf does to get that mother box. That's like way longer,
Yeah,
and I thought that was pretty good. And Steppenwolf redesign actually, I think, kind of works. Like you can like the armor is kind of
yeah,
cool, I guess. But
I
in
like
general,
the
like
armor.
Steppenwolf has like a little more under the hood in terms of like motivations to like win back his getting the good graces of Darkseid and friends and stuff,
Yeah,
and like
I really
talking
sympathized with him this time.
not even not even that, but like you feel like you understand like more of what was happening on the villain side versus that's the bad guy. You gotta stop the bad guy,
Hmm. Right.
and like the anti-life stuff. Like, was that name dropped at all in the theatrical cut? I have no recollection. I did not rewatch the theatrical cut.
I gotta say, it's a little hard to watch like the mother box thing again and then be like, oh, Infinity Stones, mother boxes, like these fucking
Yeah,
MacGuffins are, they're everywhere in these films, which is kind of how they go. Like you kind
yeah.
of have to have these things propel it forward. It's just as funny. No, I agree. I think like definitely you just get to flesh things out more. Anytime you make a 4-hour movie, if you somehow don't flesh things out more, that would be a huge whiff. So like he had to, I guess, with this amount of time. I wanted to ask though, because you mentioned it, the dream sequence at the end.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. That feels like Zach's being like, "This was my last crack. They
Yep.
somehow gave me money again. Let's do something cool." He basically said, like, "I thought it was a shame that Ben Affleck's Batman and Leto's Joker never got to have a scene together. There's the
Hmm.
cameo scene in in Suicide Squad 1, but like that doesn't really count, right? So it's like, yeah, you know what? Cool. And because we had already seen these like nightmare, like dream alternate realities from Bruce, I guess it makes sense to me. And because we learn more about like what Darkseid was got going on and how Lois is the fucking key, bro. Like I understand what it means, but ultimately, yeah, it's like super superfluous, right? But
Yeah.
like
Well,
it's cool to see them all hang out for a second. I think people go a little overboard, like praising like the interaction between Joker and Batman. Like it was good, I liked it, but like
it was
we don't have
fine.
to take it like too far.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I still don't really love Jetto. Jared. Yeah, Jetto. Wow, Jared Leto
Jetto, Jetto.
as the Joker. I don't really find him super compelling. Or I mean, it's definitely a take. Like we've said, it's a take on Batman. I was glad to see the tattoos gone.
Hmm.
That was a step
I
up.
always appreciate Leto's attempt at trying to be different, even if it's not the best. Like at least it wasn't a copycat of someone else. They give him that.
I
Um,
guess it just felt so on the nose, but again, it's a dream sequence, so it's
yeah,
not something that would.
right. That's the thing. It's actually funny to look back on this too, because in that scene you have Mira Amber Heard, and she's talking in this like Shakespearean almost accent, which is not what she used in the other scene,
Right.
nor in Aquaman.
Hmm.
And like also you have that scene with Mira and Arthur Aquaman where they're like talking in those bubbles, right?
Hmm.
Since the first Justice League movie, we got Aquaman from James Wan, and they don't talk in bubbles. So I guess that was just like a matter of like they couldn't reshoot that scene, so they still talk in bubbles in this movie. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, but we got Defoe showing up. He wasn't in the
Yeah.
theatrical cut as a Volko.
And was Barry Allen's dad? Who was it again?
Billy Crudup.
Yeah, Billy Crudup. Was he in the original one? I don't
I
remember him.
think I think you get those prison scenes, but you don't get the scene with Kiersey Clemens as Iris.
Gotcha. Hmm. I mean, overall, I like I was saying, I'm glad we got this, and I think I'm really happy for DC fans. I mean, all this goes to show is if you're annoying enough on the internet, you can get what you want. So
Are you interested in the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad? I personally am not, because I've seen recent David Ayer movies and I don't have any faith in that cut being worth the investment.
yeah,
And
uh,
again, also it feels like back. Why do we let the look backward? You're literally making a fucking new Suicide Squad movie with James Gunn. It's already made. Like,
yeah.
put that shit to bed. I'm sorry.
Uh,
Like
I'm
we're going this way, not that way. Like,
I am not interested in that at
yeah.
all. So, um, but yeah, I mean, good for people. Any last thoughts on the Snyder cut, Dave?
Well, we did kind of touch on this when the news came out, but Ta-Nehisi Coates developing a Superman film.
Hmm.
J.J. Abrams producing. Assumption it's a black Superman film, not Clark Kent, probably Calvin Ellis or something, but black Superman. And JJ's also apparently developing a Constantine HBO Max show. We know James Gunn right now is shooting Peacemaker, which is a spin-off of Suicide Squad featuring John Cena's character from the new movie. Got those TV shows coming out. New Superman. What's Henry Cavill up to, man? Is he making one? We know Ben Affleck's probably on the way out. He'll be in Flash, and that's probably it for him. And no one's gonna blame him for that after we know why he's leaving. But does it feel like Henry Cavill? There's still nothing in sight for him. Is he ever going to be Superman again? Again,
Man,
he's been in 3.5 movies. He was cast in 2011.
the thing is, I don't know if there's anyone more perfect to play Superman. Like he really is the perfect casting.
Right. And again, I would have loved to see a new one where it wasn't the origin story. I think Man of Steel has a lot of ambition and like a lot to really like.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
it's kind of frustrating that like you didn't even make like an Iron Man 2 before you made Avengers with Batman vs Superman. Like everyone knows these critiques at this point, but again, you can do both. You can make the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman movie and still keep Henry Cavill going. And again,
yeah.
again, it feels weird, right? Because like we're gonna have a new Wonder Woman and a new Aquaman and a Flash finally, but Cavill's gone. It just feels kind of strange. But
It does
again, like
feel
it's all kind of
strange.
all over the place. So I just hope the movies are good.
Yeah, I think there's also like a piece of me that feels a little sad. We're probably not going to see Eisenberg as Lex
Like,
Luthor.
yeah,
Even though like I don't know if I loved what we did see of it, I wouldn't mind seeing like him just being full bald Lex Luthor. Let's see it.
yeah.
Give it to
Again,
me.
kind of like Leto, but I think more effectively, he's doing a different interpretation of Lex. He's not trying to copy Gene Hackman nor just do what was always done in the animated shows.
Hmm.
I like his Lex enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of sad talking about this almost in a way because, like you said, there is so much like potential that's just left on the cutting room floor at this
Yeah.
point.
So it's weird finality and stuff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, again, there's like 10 movies in active development.
Right. Oh man.